we've been in Montana with our friend Chris Hartenstein, and he says, yeah, I mean, in his briefing to all of us when we're coming in for a retreat, he says, hey, now just once it gets dark, don't go outside, particularly by yourself.
Yep, beyond the porch. Don't leave the porch.
Yeah, and that's he's saying if you forgot anything in your vehicle, your truck or anything, you may want to get it in the daylight hours. Not saying you can't go, and then he points up into the lodge perimeter, and there's 5 big mountain lions.
Yeah.
And he says, all of those were taken on our ranch.
Yeah, and their paws are gigantic.
Yeah, and I'm just telling you, every guy in that room sobers up pretty quick.
Yeah, he said if you go out alone at night, there's a chance all we're going to find is your belt buckle and your wallet, like in 2 weeks from now. And you won't hear them coming.
With God, there is always more. More love, more life, more freedom. Welcome to Zoweh's Exploring More with Michael Thompson. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Our Heavenly Father has provided many delightful inns for us along our journey, but He takes great care to see that we do not mistake any of them for home." Join me and the team as we explore the kingdom together, discovering the deep truths and offering encouragement for the journey. There is always more.
Welcome, friends and allies, to the Exploring More podcast, Season 5. Season 5.
One at a time, I guess.
One at a time.
Right.
Yeah. 300 and, I don't know, it's got to be 350 plus.
Getting close to 4,
episodes.
I would think.
Is it? Dang. That's
maybe Andy can.
That's a lot of talking.
For us.
It
is a lot of talking.
We need to revisit some of the things we maybe said in those first seasons, see if we would still say them or not. Or
edit them somehow.
Edit or update. Yeah. So anyway, friends and allies, it's great to be with you for another season. And really, thanks and tip of the hat to our producers, Caleb and Andy, who came in and decorated Exploring More with a lot of new set stuff, man.
Yeah, some of these things are
lions and lamps. We got lamps.
We got exploratory gear.
I love it.
Yeah, and some of it from our own stories and
our own garages.
Our own
closets and our own. Like we both have shelves that are kind of trophy cases of things that people have given us. I've got the U.S. Marine Corps knife that
it's called a K-bar.
K-bar, yep. And a couple other hats. That hat's from Australia when Robin and I went. I was 25.
Wow.
Do you remember the Man from Snowy River?
Yes.
So that's a Jim Craig hat. It's called an Akubra. I think it's called an Akubra. I'm pretty sure.
Mate.
Yeah, man.
Akubra, mate.
So had to get that. And man, there's been that's been on some rivers with me. Fishing.
I came in here this afternoon and hadn't seen the set yet. And you and I have been traveling some. And while we were gone, Sherry was kind of rooting around in our storage areas and found some stuff. And that immediately caught my eye. My dad made that when he was a boy.
That's crazy, man.
And I had forgotten I have it.
That deserves a prominent spot. I love it.
It's 100 years old almost.
That's crazy. That's like in shop or something? Is that?
I don't know. I honestly don't know the story behind it.
Beveled out.
Yep.
That's beautiful. So, yep.
Yeah, probably like maybe Boy Scouts or something. I don't really know. You want me to pick it up, Andy? Yeah, it's a little canoe. And it actually floats. I remember being a kid and putting it in water.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it actually floats.
Looks like the dog got a part
I got a hold of that one end there and nibbled on it.
Gracie? Who did
Yeah,
it?
I think that was Glory got a hold of it. Just a couple of bites, little character. Anyway, but just it's great to see some of these things.
Yeah.
Again, trophies, like you said, reminders of, stops along our journey, as we're talking about in this first episode for season 5, maps, map of the kingdom. There's a new piece here, the map of the larger story.
Yeah.
We're going to get into some of that in this first series. It'll be good to talk about.
Yeah, a different chair. This is a comfy, Andy. I
Yeah,
like it, man. So
slouching pretty
I'm
bad.
kinda
I
like-
might.
yeah, man. So, if I'm close enough for you to kick and you're
Yeah.
close enough for me to kick, that's all right. So
That'll be good.
but like you said, we're looking at, and this series is one that it's actually probably one of the older elements of Zoweh originally, when I came up with the idea of a map that could describe a bit of the larger story that our story's in.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, Narnia, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and then Prince Caspian, and then later the Dawn Treader, those came out as films. And so Narnia has, I'll get you these maps, Andy. You can impose
put them up
on.
so you can see them.
But there's a map of Narnia that's really beautiful. And then Lord of the Rings, of course, it has its map of Middle Earth. And so, in kind of in the vein of those things. And then the other one I was thinking of that I've shared before is I've shown these maps of Normandy, of
the different.
What's the operation? Gosh, I just lost it.
Overlord.
Operation Overlord. So
Yeah.
all the different places that the Allies were going to land, and the map,
Omaha, Gold,
right.
Juno, Sword.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so maps, have mostly been replaced with our phones. And we were recently in Maine, and man, just to navigate, to remember MapQuest, when you used to put in here,
print it
and
out.
we want to go here, and you printed
Mm-hmm.
them out.
Mm-hmm.
And you could take those around town or in your downtown if you weren't,
Mm-hmm.
familiar. I remember using that. But so this series is a lot about the elements, the landscape of the terrain of which our hearts find themselves. And as much as we might try to modify or create some things on the landscape of the larger story, it's pretty well set.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much set. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
very, very important to know the larger story. And that's why it was important to me I think back in 2006 is when I originally
First
kinda
did the map.
drafted. When you guys are making, what are those surveyors? So this was my surveying of the larger story with the influence of C.S. Lewis and Tolkien, and how do we put something in front of us that helps us see this landscape? Because where my heart was at the time, SJ, was that if you don't understand how this works, I think of Morpheus to Neo, tumbling down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
Because he says, I don't like the idea that I'm not in control of my life.
Right.
And when you see some of these larger components, you really are forced to yield to the idea that, you really don't have a lot of control. You have some, you have a little, but even then, as we talk about this in the series, you've been programmed quite a bit
Mm-hmm.
by a lot of things and a lot of people. And it's not a full-on fallacy, but to think that you just have really free will and choice. No, there's a lot that's gone. A lot of data has gone into your heart, mind, and soul that makes it very reactionary to things. I'll give you a funny one. So those reels on Instagram that are people getting hurt?
Yes, I do.
I mean, they just kind of one after the other. Well,
It's very insensitive of me, but they're
Well,
very funny.
My
to me.
oldest and I, we send some of those back and forth. Like, you got to watch this one, Dad.
Yeah.
Or, you got to watch this one.
Watch this guy Biff.
Yeah. So we're just kind of, I don't know why, we're just kind of programmed that that's funny. My wife is programmed to be like, you should not be laughing at that.
Mine too.
That is like,
especially if it's children or old people. She's particularly sensitive to that, and those are a lot of people that end up on those things. Anyway,
sometimes, yeah. But there's some programming, is my point, that's gone on,
right.
And so I use that as a bit of a tongue in cheek, but no, there's a lot of fight and flight and freeze and things that have gone into us, and that have a hold in some ways, and some of it can be quite dark, and some of it can be even quite painful.
Well, as you were talking about maps, what occurred to me was that there's in these stories, movies, books, really parables that we talk about and utilize quite often. There are maps that were created along with those stories because those stories are so epic and so vast. Mm-hmm. So I was just talking with a guy this past weekend. One of my, I used to love reading Tom Clancy books, and depending on which story it was, like, for example, Clear and Present Danger, that's all about the drug cartels in South America and Central America. There's a map. So you understand when he's talking about Nicaragua, or he's talking about Colombia, or he's talking about these different regions in Mexico, you understand where the context of the story is taking place. Harry Potter, right? There's a map of the wizarding world, right? What's that one?
Mischief Managed.
Mischief Managed, the map.
I solemnly swear I'm up to no good, and
so it's a map of.
See everybody that's moving around in Hogwarts.
That's right.
This magical map.
And it shows, Lord of the Rings shows the different areas and dark woods. No, the Lion King. No, we don't. That's a shadowy place. We don't go over there into those borders. So there's borders, there's regions, there's understanding of how things work. To your point, there's a structure to these things, right? And I think in the context of what we talk about, God has created the kingdom, spiritual and physical realms, to operate under the laws that he created. There are foundational truths and foundational laws that he created. Yeah. And I heard one guy say one time, the law of gravity is a law that God created in his creation to govern our existence. And whether you believe in gravity or not, if you walk off the side of a cliff, you will fall.
You'll be impacted by it.
So it's no respecter of persons. If you believe in God, you believe in him as the creator, it doesn't matter. It's still a foundational law and foundational truth. So there's a bit of, I think, rigidity to the system, right? Like you said, borders. Very clear definition between here and there, darkness, light. And it'll be interesting as we talk about the map of the larger story to investigate some of those things.
Yeah. Yep. So we're going to take a quick break.
I always forgot. I forgot about the break. Yeah.
It's all right. And we'll be right back on the Exploring More podcast.
Every great adventure starts with preparation. A place to gather, rest, and equip ourselves for the journey ahead. In the same way, Zoweh's Base Camp is here for you, an online resource library created to encourage and strengthen Zoweh allies on the road to deeper connection, healing, and restoration. A base camp is a staging ground, a place to prepare for the next leg of your expedition. At Zoweh, Base Camp is a resource library designed to help you and our allies gear up for the journey of the heart. It is packed with devotionals, discussion guides, and podcasts to help you deepen your relationship with God and one another. When you visit Base Camp, you'll find a growing collection of resources, each crafted to guide you and the men in your circles on your walk with God. Each series that you find below includes a devotion plan with supplemental video content from the Explore More podcast. The devotionals are designed for both personal reflection and small group discussions, helping you dig deeper into God's truth while building meaningful relationships. On the Base Camp website, you will see the various series that we have available. When you click on a series, you'll have the opportunity to download the PDF devotion plan and the discussion guide questions. This also includes an invitation to reflect in time alone with God. Share the plan with your small group and send out the podcast videos for members to watch on their own time. Then, when you gather, dive into conversations about what God is revealing to each of you. Base Camp is more than a resource library. It's a tool for building redemptive brotherhood on the road to experiencing more life, more love, and freedom with God. Start your journey today, explore Base Camp, and reach out to us at allies@zoweh.org if you have any further questions.
Welcome back to the Exploring More podcast, and we're talking about the map of darkness and light, the map and the journey that all of our hearts and souls and minds and bodies have been on. There's a physical realm and a spiritual realm, like you said, SJ. But I wanted to, continue a little bit with just some of the backstory and just keep framing this a little bit. You said a phrase a minute ago about, there is a way things work. Mm-hmm. And another example of something that I've used while on the stage to depict this is the periodic table. I'll give that to Andy so he can put up to demonstrate. But these elements,
yeah,
and how present they are at deep core. The things that are at work at, I don't even know what the microscopic level would be. This is more, I'm not talking about microscopes anymore. What are we talking about?
Atomic.
Yeah.
Electron microscopes.
Yes, electron and
yes.
Neurons
and
an
element is something that can't be broken down any further.
Right.
And that's a.
And I think about there's in terms of a way things work. Molecular. That was the word I was going to, at a molecule level. Mm-hmm. And we give a lot of attention to some of this stuff, especially when you're not well. A friend of ours just was diagnosed with a bacterial pneumonia, and I mean,
which is
not. That's
how did that happen? I don't want to get that.
You go, you see things progress so quickly, when ailments or sickness or cancer or anything like that happens, but it's all happening at a molecular level. My point is, these are deep, deep, deep ways in which things work. Mm-hmm. And when you see somebody and you see their physical appearance, I mean, you're not even hardly at the beginning of what is actually happening in their body.
It's so great. It's so good. It's so good, man, because those are unseen forces at work.
And very much at work.
Yeah.
Very much at work. And
that
was all part of, as I was coming, it's about 25 years ago, early 2000. When I was coming as a, 25 years, 35 years old, 37, as I was starting to become more oriented, it's one of our components of orientation, who you are, your identity, but where you are, the larger story your story's in.
Right.
And then what's the good God's up to in your life. So, I mean, this precursors that before we got to being champions of orientation, we were surveyors putting together this map and trying to communicate to people, if you don't understand how gravity works, you will.
You're going to break a leg.
We were recently, SJ and I were recently in Maine, up in the Arcadia National Park. Acadia, sorry.
It's okay. There is an Arcadia.
I think that's a truck, Nissan. I think that's a vehicle. Anyway, thanks for that help.
You're good.
So we, and it was so interesting. We went to the same park 2 different days.
Yeah.
Same place, 2 different days.
Points. Yeah.
Yep. One of them, it was misty and rainy, kind of New England type weather.
Scotland,
and it did. It felt like if you had just been plopped down there, and like I have had the experience of being in Scotland, being in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle, being in, you wouldn't know for sure
No.
which one of the three of those you were in.
Yeah.
Because of just the terrain and the amount of water and the misty.
And it was, we left the house, it was 70
Yeah.
something degrees.
Yeah.
By the time we got to where we were going, a front had rolled in and the temperature dropped 15.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like this
Yeah,
sudden changes
fascinating.
and very interesting.
So
but
a lot, even bringing that up, the elements like weather, warmth, cold, and the effect that those things have on your body.
mm-hmm.
You know, some people are just more warm-blooded, some are more cold-blooded.
Mm-hmm.
They, you know, if you've had the war of the thermostat at your house, you know what I'm talking about.
Man, I don't know how many marriages GM saved by putting dual climate control in the car.
There's a reason why
But
there's a reason why that bed exists with two two
two
different mattress
zones.
temperatures.
Yeah.
It's, and so we're just trying to labor this point a little bit that you know, to a certain degree, you're subject to the environment
Mm-hmm.
that you're in, and if you're not prepared and even maybe well prepared, you could become a casualty of that environment.
Oh yeah.
Not only from the weather and the terrain, but then you start, you know, dealing with predators, other things that are out there in our story in nature.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We've been in Montana with our friend Chris Hartenstein, and he says, I mean, in his briefing to all of us when we're coming in for a retreat, he says, hey, now, just once it gets dark, don't go outside, particularly by yourself.
Yep, beyond the porch. Don't
Beyond
leave the porch.
Yeah, you know, and that's he's saying if you forgot anything in your vehicle, your truck or anything, you may want to get it in the daylight hours. Not saying you can't go, and then he points up into the lodge perimeter, and there's 5 big mountain lions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he says, you know, all of those were taken on our ranch.
Yeah, and
You know.
their paws are gigantic. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just telling you, every guy in that room sobers up pretty quick.
Yeah, he said if you go out alone at night, there's a chance all we're going to find is your belt buckle and your wallet, like in 2 weeks from now.
So
and you won't hear them coming.
Yeah. So
It's
this
quite
is just to labor the point that there's a way things work, even in this fallen world. It's still governed by the sovereignty of God. There are molecular elements in the physical realm. There are our favorite clip of Spider-Man is about the symbiote.
Mm-hmm.
When Peter Parker is the black suit, this thing,
Spider-Man 2, I think.
this creature is, this ooze. Don't let any of that get on you.
Right.
It has the characteristics of a symbiote. It needs a host in which to bond in order to survive. I mean, these things in nature, he says, when they bind, they're hard to unbind.
Hard to unbind.
And that's what we're talking about. I just still want to set the table for, if you don't understand how the kingdom of darkness works, how foul spirits work, what Jesus talks and teaches about, what the disciples teach and talk about in their letters about how the kingdom of darkness moves and works, at the predatory level, at the molecular level, soul ties, generational sin. I mean,
generational curses.
Oh
man,
if you're ignorant of all of that, I'm ready to say the chances of you being infected by or connected to any of that stuff is significantly large.
Yeah. Best case scenario, you are misinterpreting everything that's going on around you.
Yeah. I cannot remember this author's name for my life. I never can.
Yeah.
But the guy who wrote The Body Keeps the Score.
Vanderkloop or something.
There you go. You didn't help.
No.
But
no, it's Vander something.
Yeah, it is.
What is it, Andy?
But
Vanderkolk.
See, I was
so
close.
You were close. You were right there. Way better than I would have swung at that.
Anyway.
But SJ, that guy, is proving, this is going to sound really bit entitled, but that guy's proven my point.
Yeah.
this research, this exploration, this writing about things that have happened in your story and how they affect, and I would say infect, your body. That's what I was saying earlier about the programming. We'd love to think that we have more control. We'd love to think that we have more choices. We'd love to think that our wills are more free. But if you're not giving attention to that work, they're probably not.
Yeah.
They're probably far more. You're probably far more predictable in your reaction to circumstances and relationships than you are free to make open choices.
It's why we love the movie The Matrix, which I know is 26 years old now, but we love it because you're that's what they're talking about. You're plugged in,
to a
and there's
system.
that one scene. Remember, he's training him. Most of these people, they are agents of the system, and they are unwilling or unable to disconnect from it. They just don't know.
Right.
They don't know they're a part of the system.
Most of the people that we're fighting for to help them get unplugged don't know.
Yeah.
How plugged in, they are. So, I mean, people in our world of addiction and recovery, they actually have a better handle on a lot of this.
Oh yeah.
Than our, I'd say, normal Christian guy, Christian family, kind of coming in and going out of church. And nothing wrong with that. Do that. That's great. But I would say, I was thinking about this as we prepare for some of the advance weekends that we have coming up. I think part of one of my opening thoughts is, especially to advance guys who have been to a couple weekends, who have been moving in this.
Right, or wanting to know more details about what's on the map, right? They want a more detailed version.
I think one of my questions early is it, do you now see what we mentioned as you guys started in the 101, 201 freshman, sophomore seasons, which can be long seasons, longer than a year or semester or two. It can be a while till you start to see through your training what this is. And that's a great word for where we want to go with all of this is, what if it could be different? And you could see more and hear more and be engaged more. Well, that takes training. That takes time and training. But where I was going with the opening thoughts at Advance is, this is way worse than you think. Like, this is way worse than you've been led to believe. Yeah. Churchgoers, church family, which I'm all for, man.
Just Christians, I mean it. Yeah, man.
This is worse than you think. And
it is the world that's been pulled over your eyes to hide
you
the
from
truth.
The truth. Yeah. And so, as much as, I get really excited to talk about the war that we've been born into. And I think that's one more thing I want to say about that before we dive in. But, we've lived in this country anyway, relatively to various degrees, minorly, if not
comparatively speaking.
If
you're going where I think you're going,
all over the place. I mean, you go to the Ukraine, and if you were born into that story in that geography over the last 4 or 5 decades, I mean, you've known a lot of it.
Oh,
not just recent.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, World War I and II.
And that's,
World War I ends 20 years later, another one starts in Europe, and man.
And you go through what would have been our 70s, in Ireland, over religious things,
Protestants,
political
Catholics,
things,
right? IRA in the state.
My point is, when you are, a kid in the 40s, or you're even a young man or older kid in the 40s, and you live in Belgium, then you have quite a different view of World War II than we ever would have, or my dad, who met his dad after World War II was over. So my point in all that has to do with, there's a war. There's always war playing out on this planet in a variety of places, and sometimes as many as, I don't know what the statistic I heard was. It was like a 60-70% of the world is in or coming out of or entering into some kind of war,
some kind of conflict.
Conflict, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the helpful explanations can be, there's war that is, laced throughout the globe and its landscape because there's a war that is constant in the spiritual realm
Mm-hmm.
between darkness and light,
Mm-hmm.
good and evil. Most of the stories that we tell still have elements and components of good versus evil.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Characters that maybe at the beginning of the story we kind of like, but we're not sure. By the middle, we find out, oh my gosh, there's this guy's a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
They're not what they seem to be. Things aren't what we thought they were. And those are the greatest betrayals of all. When you feel like somebody is trustworthy, or you're watching two characters in a story and one trusts the other and trusts their lives to the other, and it's taken advantage of, or it's in some ways abused, or
Just doesn't go well. Yeah.
yeah. And again, I'm saying that's good versus evil on a singular level, on a relational dynamic.
Almost a molecular level,
yeah.
right? In the context of the whole kingdom.
As much as
Right.
I love celebrating, and I want us to celebrate the good stuff, there is let me say it this way on purpose, a hell of a lot
Mm-hmm.
of bad stuff, rough stuff. Slavery is still going on
Mm-hmm.
around the world, across the globe,
Mm-hmm.
more so than ever.
Mm-hmm.
And children enslaved and being sold. And I mean, this what my point is, what's playing out here is because of what is literally playing out. And I do this for gesture, but it's not here and here. It's all
right here,
tangled up.
Yeah. Yeah.
The sex trade and the things that are going on there. Yes.
If we could have eyes to see what's really happening, we'd all be horrified.
Yeah.
And freaked out.
Yeah.
Which, if you look in the scripture, every time an angel appeared,
yeah,
they were like, "Don't kill him!"
It's a little bit.
First thing they said was, "Fear not."
Yeah. Don't be
because they're
afraid.
terrifying.
Yeah, I remember people who are. I'm 61 now, but back kind of in the Christian circles, there was an author named Frank Peretti who wrote a series. This is before
He was
3.
prolific.
Yeah, he wrote several, but there was
Yeah.
2 back to back that were really This Present Darkness.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of the other one, Andy. This Present Darkness and This Present something else.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they were novels that kind of pulled the veil
Right.
out of spiritual and physical realm, and literally dialogue between wormwood and screw tape is happening while dialogue is happening between characters in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit confusing to read, honestly,
Yeah.
to get your arms around.
Right.
And yet, yeah,
That's pretty accurate.
and it's about right, to move in that space. So there's another stat that I came up with. Actually, was looking at this for when I was writing King Me. Of the genres, I want to say it's 27% of all movies that get made now are horror and occult films.
It seems it's ramped up quite a bit. Like, it's almost like, and they're becoming more intense and shocking and
Graphic.
You and I went to see, what would we go to see? We went to see F1
Yeah.
several weeks ago.
Yeah.
The
Formula
the race
One
car
with Brad
movie,
Pitt.
Formula One movie, and the previews. You and I both were like,
Oh, I didn't want to even.
I can't look at that.
Yeah, you
know?
could just tell as this one was unfolding. You're like, no, I don't want that in. I don't need that. I can think of it now, man. I could tell you the few seconds I saw the house, the dolls, the things that were
Ugh.
moving around,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and and
yeah.
and the people that were actually intentionally moving towards them to kind of solve the mystery or the crimes.
Mm-hmm.
But these things. So where did they come up with that?
Yeah, what was the other one too? There's it's a TV series called Evil,
Oh,
and I think I sent you the clip. There's a nun
oh yeah,
who is
yeah,
counseling a couple,
and she sees the demonic.
and she sees the demon.
Yeah, she
that's
sees the
like
demonic.
standing behind
Yeah.
them, whispering in their ears.
Yeah, and
I mean,
there's some fascinating takes on this, but the only reason I bring all that up, that particularly these stories that we tell, it's fascinating that I don't know if it's Hollywood or how, what you want to call that in general, but they'll tell more stories and talk more about this kind of occult and darkness and demons and more than we often get any encouragement, much less evidence in it within church.
mm-hmm.
So that was another reason, I say that as another reason that I started to really see the need to have a larger worldview that included the spiritual forces at work for me, as well as the spiritual forces against me. And I got pretty deep in the exploration of it. Just reading some different authors who, Appleby, Dr. Appleby, who wrote "It's Only a Demon,"
Mm-hmm.
Which is a great title because he exerts the proposal and the effort and the idea that you have power and authority over this stuff as a Christ follower. And so, yeah, it's only a demon, but this is how they work. This is how it goes. And it was fascinating. He's been a guy in the not pioneering, I should say, but more recent re-pioneering of the work in deliverance.
Mm-hmm.
And then, others as well that I'm trying to think of the Handbook of Spiritual Warfare. That author, I'll get it. But yeah, these guys who have had, they're not Catholic priests. These are evangelical men who have stepped in and stepped toward, the way that spiritual forces work, particularly the dark kind. And so all of that's in this series that we're talking about. All of that's in the mapping of different components and how it works. And I just want to get one thing on the board, on the map, before we land this huge introduction to this series. And I'm trying to tee you up. So the one big thing that I want to end with, and then we can start the next episode with. But the one big thing that I think has been grossly underestimated, and when you don't, and when you put it in its proper understanding and proper place, and see the significance of it, it gives you a vantage point that is so very helpful. And that's this. The one component that I want you to respond to is all of it. The map that we're going to explore, all of it that we're going to talk about, the war, the entanglement, the struggle, all of it's about you.
Yeah.
All of it's about you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember as we're landing the plane here, but on this episode, but I do remember being fascinated by the idea, of the spiritual realm, the physical realm. I didn't hear about that in church at all.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, and again, we're not here to ring up churches. It's just interesting that rare is the person we've run into that heard about any of this from their pastor or priest or any
mom and dad.
Or mom and dad, right? So when I heard about it, I was like, whoa, wait a minute, had one of those moments. And then, like you can see on the map behind me, wait a minute, my heart is central to that story. And then it just all kind of, it's like when you go into Disneyland. Yeah.
Exactly. The fade out, focus out, boom.
So it was like, walking into Disneyland or whatever, and they've got a big, the kiosk with the map there.
Right.
Shout out to Sean Baker, kiosk. They've got the big map there. And you're like a little overwhelmed. Oh, there's Epcot, there's this, there's that, the other thing. Until, what do you look for? The "you are here" pin, whether it's a star or whatever it is. Now I understand the relationship of all of these things on the map to me and where I am. Right? Because without that context, you can look at a map, but you need to understand where you are in it, because then you can see where you've come from and where you're going. So to recognize that my heart is the central part of this story. Yeah. Not that I'm the main character in the context of, putting yourself on the throne or something.
Right.
But the level of importance that we have because God created it that way and put us at the middle is vastly overlooked. I mean, it's just not talked about because it's somehow, and I think we've talked about this before too, but it's somehow perceived as, arrogant or haughty to think that you're the central part of the story. And yet we all walk around like we're the main character, right? in our own stories. Yeah. And so it's not untrue, but what's untrue about us walking around like we're the main character of the story is that we're not, when we're walking around that way disoriented, we're not walking around in a story that's true. We're walking around in a story that has been told to us or has been generated by us to try to survive. But if we can get oriented, take the red pill, and be able to see that we're in the middle, then everything changes.
Yeah. The conflict is over you, and I think when you come to see that, as you said, and it becomes more clear, it actually is in an interesting way. It's very honoring. It's very very weighty.
Yes.
And
it's validating.
And you go, okay, I'm that important. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're that important to the one who created you, and you're definitely that important to the one who would rather not you experience the love that you were made for. And so this is about good and evil. This is a love story. Yeah. This is about a conflict, a battle. And you have to know and be, you have to know, become aware of the conflict and the battle within, which we'll talk about in the episodes to come, as well as the conflict without. So that's what I mean. It's way worse than you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, it's like you thought. It's like the hobbits in the Shire. Their whole world is this little Shire. Naive, have no idea what's going on outside their borders. Yeah. Even when they're talking about moving and going into this adventure, I think one of them even says, like, can't we just stay in the Shire? They're never going to get here. They'll never make it this far.
Yeah.
Trying to convince
Reminds
themselves.
me of Wallace's speech, before encountering Longshanks. Yeah, you could flee.
Live another day.
You could flee. You could live another. You could go home and dying in your beds one day. Mm-hmm. This idea that, but we're here, and what does it look like to lean in and be able to tell our enemies, you can't win. Ultimately, so many of the things that have happened to us have been, and the dark things that have happened to us have been under the influence of the enemy, at work through people, because sin is never God's best and God's plan for people, and it's not his will. Clearly, it's not his will.
No.
But it happens all the time. And so when it does, if it does, and when it does, God has set up in his economy a redemption program, a redemptive way.
Opportunity.
That going really radical into different forms and ways of bondage or slavery or sex trafficking, rape. So many
terrible things.
Assaults, abuses, and I know we want to categorize them as, here's the deeper end of that, and the idea that, well, I've never had that happen. And we love to kind of weigh them out and categorize them. But, if your mother or father was an alcoholic, and now they may not have laid a hand on you, which, again, we love to kind of measure this stuff so that we can kind of get a gauge on its effect, or maybe the lack of effect, or compare your story to my story and decide that, well, that didn't happen to me, and somehow, some way I'm better off. And I would advise and encourage our listeners to hold off on that.
Yeah, it's kind of I think it's
there's a lot going on, and just because that particular thing didn't happen to you doesn't mean that that you don't have some things that have happened, or the harder ones sometimes, SJ, to find are the things that didn't happen that should have.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Those are tricky, and so
way more nuanced.
And that can be those can be huge contributions to why people, or this false self thing, tries to arrange for love and control and manipulate and codependency and many, many other things that can be just as present with what would be measured as far less of a painful or abusive or wounding experience. And so I think exploring this is helpful. It's not the funnest series that we've ever done, but there's just a way things work in nature, and there's a way things work in the supernature and the supernatural and the spiritual, that getting your bearings on some of that can be, it can absolutely be part of a redemptive and restorative work. It does seem like your will has to consent to these things, to healing. It does seem like your will has to, like so much of the things that happened to us when we're boys and girls, it wasn't our will that decided that. Somebody else's. But now, as we have agency and we have more of an opportunity to exercise our wills for good and for our own good, that's not selfish. That's critical to even all our other relationships.
That's the place to start.
Is a place to start, in an opportunity to be so kind and caring to the younger places. I've heard it said, and I like that. Younger times, younger places, younger me. What if you could go back and
with a map
and some direction with Jesus, and ultimately get the kind of healing that only he can provide. It still is going to be in your file as it's something that happened to you, or like you said, we agreed, didn't happen, but should have happened. Somebody should have cared for you like this, not like that. And what if some of those chapters could be part of the redemption story. And that's where I think you start to see chains breaking and lies and their power, that you believe them. What you believe matters. It has authority in your life. It has power in your life. When you come to recognize that you have believed a lie, something false about you, or projected it on God, and you can get that file cold case,
reinterpreted,
reinterpreted,
filled in with
refiled.
some more details.
I can only say from my own experience, it can be life changing, life altering,
No
life
doubt.
giving, and then you start to get a little pissed. You're like, wait a minute, I lived under the influence of that idea, that statement, that perspective, that thing that my dad said or mom said or teacher or coach or priest or whatever. I've lived under that for 30, 40 some years. I mean, we've heard this over and over again. And, well, would you like to trade that in?
Yeah.
Would you like to give that to God for something far, far better? So that's where we get to go as we kind of dial into different quadrants of the larger story, the map of darkness and light, and how you're in it. This is the story that you were born into, a world at war. This is the love story you were born into, a kingdom that's for you.
Yeah.
And one that's violently opposed to your coming into that love story. And yeah, there's bigger questions even as to why, before Jesus comes back, which is another part of this story where most of this map goes away when Jesus comes back. Or you go to be with him, whichever way it's going to happen. That's a whole other map, and there's others who have written far more extensively and radically and beautifully about life after. But life here and now is a life in the middle of Earth. It's through the wardrobe, it's through the matrix. And we ought to know how it works, because you do not want to be ignorant, naive, or worse in this larger story, or you will become captive, if not worse, tortured by an evil that is absolutely committed to our separation.
Committed to it, and they are also well versed in all of this.
All this, yeah, they know how it
most
works.
of us are not.
Right, they're not playing against the rules. They're playing within the rules,
And they know that rule book way better.
And I'm not sure they don't mind a 5-yard or 15-yard
No.
personal foul flag from time to time. Just throw that in for giggles. So, anyway.
Well, Andy wanted us to end 10 minutes ago. But
let's do it.
I think it's going to be great, man. And I hope it's helpful to go a little deeper into this. We go deeper into this at our weekends, at our encounter weekends, but to set this up.
And
for,
each book has each of the three books. Search and Rescue is very much about this. In 2011, The Heart of a Warrior has a couple chapters committed to this in 2016, and then 2024. Is that right?
We released it in 23.
23, yeah, the spring of 23. King Me has even more.
The trilogy, as I like to refer to it.
So it's the trilogy. That's right. It has more on this. So
yeah.
So
welcome to season 5.
Welcome.
Thanks for being with us.
We're going to trudge through these first episodes and hopefully take you to places that you can see far more than you could when we started. So there's a view worth climbing for, and hope you stay with us on the Exploring More podcast. Welcome, season 5.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Exploring More. The landing page for this podcast is zoweh.org/podcast. That's ZOWEH.org/podcast, where you can find the show notes and various platforms to which we broadcast. You can also find us and the Life of More by visiting Zoweh on YouVersion Bible app, Right Now Media, our Facebook page, and Zoweh on Instagram and Twitter. Remember, with God there is always more, and you were made for more.